Final hour of the trading session. Welcome back to the close. Lots to talk about this afternoon. Here we go. Look at the overall markets. Nicely positive right across the board. Not huge moves today, but hey, we'll take it. 1.3% for crude, both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Back to the upside after an early sell-off. We have Moderna moving, Japan's Tkat Pharmaceuticals getting rid of 1.6 million of their doses of vaccine on some concerns over quality. We'll talk about Moderna, but guys, Robinhood, also the latest one to pop up here.
Robinhood definitely on the move. I mean, there's absolutely no question about it. There was a big move up to that 50 level, and there was some chatter about short interest on the stock, and it broke this 48.50 like right away, guys. Welcome back, of course. Sorry to jump right into things here. Broke back up this 48.50, clean move. I took the 50 short, but not the first time. I should have done it the first time. It failed 50 and gave you that one look. I did the second trade. That didn't work out. Now I'm stepping away from it. I went into Moderna off that 396 on a bit of a retrace. We'll see what happens there. But the big one was, of course, Western Digital and Micron, Arun, also in play. Big spike as they're looking to take out, I can't even pronounce the name, Kyaxia or whatever the hell that company is called. But a big move in both of those. You got Micron on the comeback.
I did get Micron on the comeback. That was quite the move to the upside. It was aggressive. This was one of those things where I only was able to take this trade because Neil knows more about this side of things than I would. Right?
We'll see in a second. No.
He said that this was most likely a sympathy move based on the deal. He knows a lot more about deals and buyout stocks and all those things. So when he's like, oh, this is probably a sympathy move, I have no clue, right? I base all my trades on charts. So I'm like, okay, cool. I can probably fade this. So here I am with the 76.50 short. Here we are, $2 in the money. I've already made $1 on the first half. We're going to let this one go. Try to get it back down to 73.5. So that's the first target, and the second target down to 73.5. A couple things that I've taken throughout the day. We were still holding on to Microsoft. Remember, I took Microsoft on the 302 short this morning at around 10 o'clock or so. We finally got out of it at 301, 20 something. It's about 70 something cents or so. We locked in on that profit. And I just got out of CRM. I was in long on this one as well around 1 o'clock on a 260.5 break to the upside. Just flattened out the trade. It doesn't look like it wants to do a whole lot in the afternoon. So let's walk away and focus on Micron.
I want to look at a couple of things here, because when I went to the Micron chart, the first thing I did was I always went to the daily chart. I actually was looking at Micron this morning because there's some chatter. Everyone has been saying it's undervalued. So it was 50 period was right at 77. So the second I saw it come into 77, we can give all the praise you want. But I'm showing you this chart right here. This is me not waiting for the test of 77. I'm like, 77? Oh my gosh, it's here. Jam short twice. And then I put my stop. Never put your stop at 77. Give it like 5 pennies. Give it 10 cents. It doesn't even matter. So that's me out of it. And then I revenge trade into a long early, and I was just like, what am I even doing here? Get out close to flat on a 75 break there and just step away from the stock, because that's ridiculous. Shouldn't be chasing something like that. I'm still in that Nordstrom's from the beginning, from the morning, but you might notice it's not a short trade. So we were short in the morning on Nordstrom's. Trade of the day is going to be Nordstrom's, the easiest short of all time. But then we got long after I did the fail break at 31. Now, I got one fill, and I sat all afternoon, well, not all lunchtime, I should say, or close to all lunchtime. Really, it was an hour after the show, to 31.85. Got that one fill. I have not added to it. I have not taken anything off since, but I will now if I get in front of that 85. It's been resisting. My next stop is 32.25. And then from there, we'll play it by ear going into the close. So lots is moving here. That Moderna first swing, it might not be the last. Having missed out on the first move, I did try the short off of 396 just there, like right when we came back on air. I was actually just getting back into the short. It was like 250 off of this move here. It went up to like that previous low of the day, not including pre-market. So I guess of the afternoon, 396. Set to stop. It does get me out. If it wants to come all the way back, I'd look back to that 400 level. Robinhood doesn't have a setup for me yet, but I'm definitely monitoring that one. I've been sitting in Wish and Pinduoduo all day long. I know Pinduoduo is $1 in the money, but it has not really broken that low yet, and it has not taken out 99, so I'm just going to sit in this one as well. I've scalped a bunch out of Pinduoduo, so I'm looking to get a bigger win. Moderna will be on watch. I don't want to get too far away from it, but I'm going to be sitting it out in this 90 to 95 range, looking for a pop up to 400. And RGC, when I left the morning show, like I always try to tell you guys, like we'll get locates if it's free, and then if it's hard to borrow, how much we pay for them at Day Trade the World. And I think I said you guys, I'm pretty sure it was like 49 cents a share. Maybe it was 49 or 48 cents a share when we first checked RGC. Then it was $1. Then it was $1.57. And the last time I looked at pay for shorts on RGC, it was over $2 a share. So, and I noted this to Brendan, if I could have just paid for the shorts and traded on the locates, that was 4 times your money, whereas the stock from bottom to top was 3x. So it was actually more profitable to be trading the locates, which you can't do. I'm just having fun with that. But RGC, there really wasn't a trade except for, unless you could have gotten this halt up long, where there's a 15-second chance that you can actually get those when it goes into the halt. There is a structure of a trade to the long side I see there. Even like these breakouts, like if you're taking a breakout of this high, you're talking 37 with a stop where I can't figure out what, 31, 33, that's too tight, 33.50. Like these are all pretty ridiculous. If you're taking a break here at 38.50, I mean, you're going long, break into the halt, and then the high of the day break actually happens when it reopens. Maybe there's a trade on that one. Just nothing clean with an obvious stop. But the closest probably would have been right on the reopen, grabbing a 40 long, and then, I mean, a stop there, you could maybe give it to 37 or a ridiculously tight one, which I don't think makes any sense. So it's been crazy whipsaw action. If I saw anything I liked, it might have actually been at an even $1.60. It definitely would have been an even $1.50. But it wasn't worth paying for the short because it just added an extra $2 of risk. So all of a sudden you're taking a 50 short as it breaks 50, goes to 51 and turns around. It's like, that's a great entry. I love that one. Back down at 50, stop for $1. It even gives you like a 46 print, comes all the way back into like 43. Oh, but wait a minute. You aren't risking $1 on that trade. You're risking $3 on that trade because you're paying $2 for the locate. So this is a simple case where I couldn't justify paying for the locates. Usually that's not true. RGC, it overwhelmingly, it just was. Like, there was no way for me to trade it short side because I wasn't willing to pay.
Yeah, well, I'm never willing to pay. So clearly I'm not going to be a part of a lot of these shorts unless they're free. Hood, we got to pay for shorts on Hood. The reason why I'm not into shorts on this is because, well, we probably got to pay for it. I think, did you look for Hood shares and you said it was too expensive or something like that, right?
So when I said I missed the 50, when I said I missed the first move on 50, Hood was making this move and I went to pay for the shorts and they were 11 cents a share, which is fine. I just didn't have them when it went up there the first time. By the time I processed it, it had already failed down once and I took it the second time through. But 11 cents a share is about double what we usually pay, usually 5 or 6 cents on Robinhood.
Yeah, okay. So someone in the chat is asking locates. It means locates, as in we're looking for shorts to get. Our broker can get us free shorts at times, and then half the times they're not easy to borrow. If they're not on the easy to borrow list, we got to go look for them. That means we got to pay for them. So a lot of the times when you got to go pay for them, you have to send in requests, how many shares you want. They'll send you back a price for them, and if you have, if you can get them in time, then you get the shares that are assigned to you and you can go ahead and trade them for the rest of the day. That's what we're talking about, locates on the short side of things. Now let's take a quick look at the futures because it has done quite a bit since we left it last. We'll actually do this after we come back from Reddit.
I was going to kind of tag along with you there, Arun. The market higher today, obviously, and a lot of that has to do with the banking sector. So banks very, very strong. And leading the way, in fact, for the S&P. I wanted to show you one thing here, guys. The U.S. 10-year, 1.347 currently. That's up about, well, we'll double check, but significantly today. I'll call it that much. Here's JP Morgan. Show you this chart because ours are full of crazy wicks and you can't really see anything. But JP Morgan basing out here right at 161, guys. So keep in mind, tomorrow we get the symposium, Jackson Hole Symposium. We'll get more details at that point. But U.S. 10-year higher today in front of that announcement potentially tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, JP 2%, Morgan up here 1%. Still looking a little bit at a few other names from this morning, and one of them was a bit of a swing and not a swing and a miss. I guess just a miss all around. Nvidia liked the level. It's interesting. Liked a 215 level, right? If that's a support that if broken was going to be a flush on a down market and the market didn't go, then 215 should have been a support for a long. Never happened, but we're now getting a little bit top heavy. It's basically been holding it's a weird price, but 222 both in the morning, call it like 11 o'clock, almost right when we went off air, and then right here in the afternoon at that same 222 price. The market is exactly flat over on the NASDAQ. The ES slightly higher, but in the event of a rollover, this is sort of setting up here that you could catch a break right here at 222 on Nvidia. It's getting very, very close to it. There's just not a lot of momentum. I think that's sort of the problem. There's so many stocks that are actually moving, but the overall market flat. So you got to find what's going. That's why Robinhood and your Modernas and AMC and now Micron, those are all actually giving you moves. And the movers from the morning are what I'm basically sitting in here. Your Nordstroms, Wish, Pinduoduo, Wish from yesterday. When I said I wanted to be short in that stock, it's held 720 all day long on context logic and has been doing nothing. And I'm not sure it will unless AMC and GameStop break down. Robinhood just pulled back in. 48.50 would be an interesting price because that's where the whole thing started. I wouldn't mind building it in front of VWAP here, so I might take a shot here at 49 and change. Just catching a bit of a bounce here on Robinhood. Big level, I think, could be there at 48.50. 49, probably a first test for me.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at the futures here. It has done quite a bit since we left it last. When I mean quite a bit, it's a whopping 10 points, but it did get out of this range that we were stuck in for a while now, between 90 and 80, 80 and change, call it. Here we are at 95, sitting 5 points below the 4,500 mark, which I imagine there's probably a decent amount of volume sitting up there. What can you really do? In front of the 4,500, I wouldn't feel confident going short. Clearly, now we can start looking at potential long sub 90, trying to use this entire zone as support. It all depends, though. The closest level I've got is 44.70. So if I'm looking at 4,500 as a potential first marker of resistance, well, I've got to make sure the risk reward on this trade is good. So do I want to put up, say, 20 points in risk for a 10-point shot to the upside? Probably not. So I'm probably going to look at 85 as the midpoint where I would start to look for some longs on the futures here. If we can get a setup, it's all crucial, and it hinges on the fact that it does have to set up, because in a market like this, you don't want to just take it because it's coming down to a price that you like. It has to set up for me. So 44.85 potential with a 44.70 stop. Markets are up, what, 0.25% on the ES and then flat actually on the NASDAQ. So NASDAQ tech being slightly lagging behind in the actual broad market. And here we go with BABA as well. BABA coming back up, bouncing off that 166 even marker, all the way back up. Now, if we can get above 168, we're going to run into some resistance here. I am looking at BABA at 170. That's the area. If we can get above there, we really have a chance. Remember, this morning, 168 break, I said I wanted to see how this trades. If it actually was going to stay below and trade below, maybe we take a shot expecting resistance around 167. Well, clearly we kind of dipped below that and we are bouncing back. So if we get it back above 170, and especially tomorrow, I'm going to set this up for tomorrow. If we get it back above 170, I think that's going to be a stellar trade. 170 with a 166 stop. Brandon, what's up?
Support.com making a run at day highs, first of all, and this recent high as well. I was just double checking there. It looks like we're just taking it out as we speak. So big volume coming in, guys. 28% for SPRT.
I didn't want to interrupt the room, so I threw it in the chat there, high day break. I got 14.39 to the long side. Already scalped some out here at 14. I should hit a key. Already scalped that some out here at 14.76. I don't know. I feel like we're not using the animations as much. I don't know. You guys let me know. Like, do you want me to like actually hit it when you're the winner? Do you care? $15 it just turned, but 14.70 was that previous high. At least I'm like 99 because I checked this morning. So yeah, okay, we're right. 14.70 was that previous high going into yesterday. It's just a wick up there. I think obviously 15, if that gets taken out, you have some serious runway. But now that we're sort of scalping some out halfway, I want to be holding on to this. There aren't too many names, and when I say there aren't too many names that I can see that are breaking tops, it's the only one that comes to mind that we're able to see. So there you go. Support. I'm going to try not to call it Spirit, but it's SPRT, and I've been around a long time. I'm used to doing those things. I had like a sort of a crappy breakout trade this morning on the stupid thing at 13.50, in which I basically here made 35 cents and then just stopped out 35 cents. And I was like, what am I even doing with the stock? So I sat it out and waited for it to make a real move. Here comes that real move right here, right now on support. So patience pays off. There is one thing we have to do. We got a question. Actually, no. We didn't get a question about Cassava Sciences. Arun posed a question about Cassava Sciences, and both of us answered in the same way because we only like to short in Sava, and credit to everybody that shorted this name. Good for you guys. As a matter of fact, Congratulations to everyone that made money shorting Cassava Sciences in the pre-market and then off that move off the open. But both of us were like 96.25 is what I said, up to like 97, and then there's that 100 level. That's where you could actually have reasonable entries that I could make the risk reward work. I know Arun agreed. And then we spent the entire show talking about waiting for it to get to that price. And the only reason I'm waxing poetically about this right now is because this top here would be 96.65 approximately, which would be squarely in that range that we yammered about waiting for all day long. And then what you don't see here are any executions on my part. And here you have Cassava Sciences right back at $81. So there you go. Every now and then, it's not just about saying this is the level I think about, blah, blah, blah. You still have to get into the position, right? Like, you have to be paying attention to the stock, set an alert, leave an order out there. I don't know if you want to leave an order $15 away for the entire day. That's probably reckless. But an alert, which is built into our system on my quote board, an alert when it hit 94 I could have done, an alert when it hit 95. Now, candidly, when it made this move, I was actually trying to whole practice of allowing it to reject the level, and it never came to 97. I did try to get shares here at 95. But when this popped up from 93, this was like a 50-cent spread when it got up here, and I was trying to catch that rollover, and I didn't want to pay down to 94. I don't know why. I probably should have, but I just didn't cross the spread to be able to get in aggressively. And then when it started going, I was like, yeah, don't chase it, don't chase it. You're already like a few bucks away from your entry price. So I didn't chase, and it didn't work out for me. But that's definitely an actionable trade. And we had talked about the value of being patient and waiting for it. And all the best trades seem to be when you stick to your rules and wait for it. I'm down on AMC today. And the dip buy that I wanted, it never even came to that price. So I forced the trade a little bit higher. And while it wasn't a huge hit, it was still enough that it left me wondering, if it never gave me the setup, why did I even bother getting into it in the first place? Sava was there, but just barely, although it was a perfect entry there. Arun.
Yeah, absolutely. One stock that's moving right now is Clover. Clover breaking 880. Oh, well, let's say 880 to 875-ish would be the support point. It bounced off this 9 multiple times. We got above it, but it seems like there's enough action above there to bring us right back down. So this is starting to kind of range out here between 910 and say 8. Call it. Here's a problem. I would want to say 860, but then 850 has got some volume there. So it's more like 850-ish. It all depends on how it trades there. And I was looking in the chat. Well, when it came to the animation comment, and someone says, "Oh, Brian said, chicken dinners, please." Yes, sir. There you go. There's your chicken dinner, just for you, Brian. There's your dinner for tonight. Since you asked for it.
There's a better one, eh?
Oh, well, that's the one. Oh, there you go. Neil's got 2 chicken dinners. There you go.
That's better, right?
There you go. You got one from Sean and one from Neil. 2 chicken dinners for you, Brian. As we're still working this Micron trade to the downside, here we go close to 74. First target is going to be 70. Well, it's not my first target. At this point, it's going to be second target. 73.50, and then I'm going to tighten up the stops as soon as we get down there. So that's the only trade I've got on. And futures coming off a little bit here. Here we are backing off these 95s, back into the 90s. There should be some support here in between 90 and 85, but I think if we get 85, remember, we're looking for a potential setup around 85 with the 70 stop. But if we actually accelerate into 85, we actually might have some speed to the downside.
So I'm going to do this just for a quick second. I know I'm supposed to use the white charts there, guys. So I'm going to do this so you can see. This is AMC coming down through. This is what I'm looking at on my 3-minute chart when I look up, guys. AMC coming through into the downside. So I'll go ahead and move that back to where it should go, and then show you. I've been sitting in Wish for all day. I've been sitting in Wish all day long. And it finally broke down. Why? Because AMC is going. And then Clover broke down. Why? Because AMC is breaking down. So they've been moving in lockstep. And someone was asking me which direction. And this was in the chat before we came on. I was in here at like 2:30, which I'm going to try to do as often as I can. Like whenever we put the show live, until Memes and Movers is going the entire afternoon, and you guys don't have that chat. When we get this up at like 2:20, 2:30, I'm going to jump in the chat when I can, and we'll talk about trades, and we'll talk about ideas, and we'll talk about what we're looking at here. But I had said I didn't really have an idea where Clover would go. I love that 9 price. Maybe not as much as I love the short Clover in front of 720, but I would just pick the direction that AMC and the others choose, and it seems like it wants to be down. And to that point, I've actually canceled I canceled a bid on Robinhood. Now, this is only because, I know Robinhood just made its move for its own reasons, talk of the short chatter, and it went, and none of the other stocks went here at about 2:30. But yesterday, Robinhood went lockstep with the other names as they were going to the upside, and that was one of the ones I shorted off 50. So it's enough for me, seeing them start to roll back to the downside, AMC now 44.50, to go ahead and cancel that bid. I mean, I never got it the first time, 49. I don't know if I even need it the second time with the rest of the space coming in here, guys. So I'll go ahead and back off of that, but I am starting to cover context logic because it has yet to really break the low of the day, and I'm still holding over half the position I've been in all day long. Brendo?
Just looking at this Palantir chart, once again, there was a headline, guys, about midday, just after 12, I guess, this came out. A glitch in their system apparently gave unauthorized FBI employees access to data that they shouldn't have otherwise seen, apparently, according to the New York Post. So that caused this, again, about 12:30 this afternoon. But pretty decent level forming here, 24 or 25, call it, down to 24, definite area of support. Palantir under pressure today, guys.
Yeah, so at this point, obviously I've got one position left. I don't see myself getting into too many positions. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot setting up right now anyways. I see some stocks moving. DKS was one we covered earlier in the day. It is actually finally starting to come back underneath 130. We topped out around 134, it looks like. So I've got 128 marked off here. A lot of the time that I'm going to spend now, given that breakouts at this point in time, at this late in the day, I'm not going to be a fan of taking just because of the close and the imbalances and whatnot. So I'm going to set them up for tomorrow. 128 on DKS to the downside with 135 as the top end level. So we're going to mark this off, file it away. Tomorrow we'll come back to it. That's one option. CRM was the other one. We were kind of long here in front of 259 and change. We were long at 260 and a half, but the 258.75 area, that's the level I'm talking about. If we go back a few days, it's really going sideways, right? So 263 on the top end, 258.75 or so on the bottom end. If we break out either side, I think there's a trade there. Again, file this for another day. That's all we can really do at this point. I'm also looking at the chat. Someone else is saying crowd. Let's take a quick look at crowd. I know Neil's been on this all day. For the most
I ended up covering that when we started having when that RGC started going crazy, and then I was starting to look at a couple of other names, Moderna, and all that news started coming in here. I was like, I can't sit in that crowd forever, so I ended up taking that long off.
Yeah, another one that's actually down 1.5%. PDD is setting up some levels at this
still
point.
in that stupid thing, man.
Are you?
I'm still in at 98.50 because it won't take out the low and it won't take out the high.
Yeah.
So it's like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, so let's declare some levels. 100, clearly 100 is going to be the marker for tomorrow. We seem to be struggling above 98.50, around 99, so let's round that up to 100. 100, a breakout above 100 gives you an option to go to the buy side. To the downside, however, I'm not sure what I can really use. I'm thinking maybe 95, because if you say 96, then you kind of run into some action here at 95.5. So I'm going to easily say 95. So it's going to be a 5-point risk if you decide to take that, but it is setting up for something either end tomorrow. Brendan, what's up?
Just reading this Moderna story, guys. A little bit more details. I mean, there really isn't much, but they're calling it contamination. It doesn't actually say what was in these vaccines, but 1.6 million doses withdrawn from Japan's Tkat. They partnered with Moderna to distribute Moderna's vaccine in Japan. So that's what caused that move in Moderna's stock to the downside here. But just starting to pop back to the upside. We just actually went positive again for mRNA.
Yeah, I think I got the right. Yeah, not holding on to that one was probably the right call on Moderna. But I did look a gift horse in the mouth here on a reload in Virgin Galactic. In support. Why did I just say Virgin Galactic? That actually makes zero sense. I know they both begin with SP, but that makes zero sense. It's on my brain for whatever reason. I should probably check in on that stock for that reason. But I had a chance to just got back in front of 14.20 when it kind of took the quarter, held 14.15, got back in when it retook the quarter to the upside, and then missed a shot because usually here I'd take shares out in front of 14.50 for the scalp trade and then hold on. In this particular case, I saw 50. It broke 50, and I'm like, oh, I can probably get up here at 65 like last time. Yeah, I got too cute, and now I'm starting to gift horse in the mouth. When it does this, I'm not holding this through 14.15 here, guys. I don't want to throw this away. It was a good breakout trade, but I've already bungled a little bit on that reload there, so I don't want to compound that mistake by holding through that 14.15 level. We just talked a little bit about Moderna there, and I'm not it was a slip. I don't really mean I'm going to get into looking into Virgin Galactic. It wasn't doing anything today, but as I said, I'm getting more shares out of context logic. But I actually just hit the offer for a few shares there at 7 even. mostly because I'm going to keep doing this, mostly because and this is going to be AMC. See, you got that bounce here off of this 44.15 level, so I'm actually reacting to a bounce like this. It bounces up almost a full dollar, and I'm still sitting, I'm sitting in 709 Wish trade, right? So if I can then just hit the offer, because Wish went nowhere, then that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Like, what I don't want to happen is for AMC to start making gigantic moves on me, guys. So, you know, if that bounces up and the $1 turns into 2, context logic could actually make a run at the top, and then I'm really looking to gift horse in the mouth and not taking my profits. So that's the only reason why you'll see this execution, which looks weird, but I can actually hit a gateway, just for a teaching moment here. Wish, it's not even up. So what I can actually do here is like, see like, now it's not here because it just got taken out, but like, yeah, I see like Boss X and BYX and Edge A. Like, you actually get paid like $1 per thou to hit those gateways. So if you hit it first when it's not doing anything, you actually pay a little bit of a fee. It's kind of like getting a midpoint. So that's what I was just doing here. AMC bouncing to the upside, GameStop. Some of you guys were mentioning showing like a double or a triple bottom, so I used that as well. Both bouncing here and context logic doing nothing, so I might as well lighten the load, because if it's not going to make a huge breakdown, which clearly at this point is not going to happen, can't even get this 692 that I had. Best fill down 692. Give me a break. But can't even seem to go any lower than that, so I might as well start covering that trade. 35 minutes only to go to the close anyway.
Yeah, I just saw the chat, Neil. Someone mentioned Sava's price. I was like, oh, 80? Really?
Like today was my chance at redemption for the $15 or $20 winner when you held, and I had like the day, you guys remember this, when the Arun had like the $25 gajillion winner. It was like 25 gross. It may have been more than that.
It was like 22 something.
$22 gross on Sava, and I'm telling you, on the same move, I had a $1 stop and I had the top, and then got out of it with like, more like a $1.50 stop. It was too tight of a stop, is what I'm getting at. I wasn't careful enough about the entry. Then we spent all morning show being careful about where we wanted to short Sava, where we both liked around the same price area, different by maybe like 75 cents or so, and then it goes right into that price. And then not only do I miss it the first time, then I try to get it the second time and wasn't aggressive enough. So I'm happy about anybody that got Sava. As for Palantir, for those of you that just not to switch topics, but I just saw Sterling talking about Palantir, and someone else had asked about Palantir, and I had answered on the daily chart, and this is probably what Sean would tell you. I don't know, maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. But on the daily, look at the cluster that it's sitting in. This is breakout 23 like 65, call it 23.50 to 23.75, that's your price area. And then basically breaking out that level, and then now holding it on support. So to me, that's where you're buying in front of. And if it doesn't give you that, I'm not trading it. And if it doesn't give you 26 breakout, I'm not trading it. In the middle, I just find it's really easy to get yourself into trouble in Palantir. That's why I trade that stock like 2 or 3 times a month at tops, just because those are the days that make sense to me. And I have a pretty good win rate when I keep it to that low. It's kind of like me and Tesla. Like if I'm trading Tesla every day, I'm losing. If I'm trading Tesla a couple of times a month, then things are going well for me. So I find Palantir is very, very similar. Sean is a master at trading it every single day, but you got to stick to what works for you. That's what works for him. Being very patient for the really good levels, and when they extend through and break out, or give those false breaks, that's what I like to see on a Palantir. So that's what I'd wait for.
All right, let's take a look at RGC, just because it seems to be a very popular stock. Technically speaking, let's forget the valuation, let's forget all the other stuff, and just look at the chart and pretend that this overvalued whatnot does not matter, or whatever the case is, or we've gone up too fast, or whatever the case is. Let's look at this. From the chart perspective, right, where could you easily find support? Well, it would have to be underneath 43.50. Well, 43.50 would be the first line of support. If you take that break to the downside, you've got to expect some trouble below 40. And I think the big one here is clearly going to be 28 even. We spent a lot of volume between 32 and 28, say. So for tomorrow, if this doesn't go crazy and keep on going past 59 and actually gaps down into 28 and find some support, and it's not just going to be a complete collapse, then I think you could easily say, well, we're going to go long at support, sub 30, between 28 and 30. That would be the play, just because it's popular, right? If you want to go for the short, obviously everyone wants to kind of short the top, right? But a move like this has already established that this thing can do whatever it wants, whenever it wants. It went as high as 38, came back down to 28, and then went to 58. So even the reset, $10, allowed for this to go up another 30 bucks. Is that going to be another situation where coming back down another 8 $8 to $10 allows this to expand once again. That will remain to be seen, but just be aware of the support points or that are there on the chart. This is a 5-minute chart. It's 44-ish, 43.50 call it, and 28 even, that's the major. And then you have probably a minor support between 40 and 38. So those are the two areas that you would look at for tomorrow. We're filing a lot of these for another day just because we really can't make use of this information today.
So you guys have know, like during the week here, as Arun's been doing a fantastic job sitting in, I've generally been hitting the mic drop when he drops knowledge. So this time, because you like the animations, I'm going to hit his animation because he never uses it. And that, of course, is a pew-pew because Arun comes in like a sniper. He's the most patient trader of all time. And I already told the story once this week, so I won't. But I'll give this one for support. And it found some buying support right around that 14.25. Collective groans, I get it, but like, give me a break. Like, either you guys give me the puns, or I'm gonna keep giving you crappy puns. That's the way it works around here. Now, I can quote some movies, I'm pretty good at that, but puns are not my forte. There's now a bit of a buyer on Spirit, and you just saw, I don't know if you quickly saw that one. Who hit that one?
What are you looking at?
I just saw on the board, it was a Valeria My Hero one. That's cool, I love that one. I never find it on my board. Anyways, you might have just saw MEMX, and that's a gateway heavily used by day traders, which pays a good rebate. And someone just took a fill up at like 14.65. The second it chewed through that order, I'm still sitting in a long as I'm saying all this. Second it chewed through that order, immediately slams back down. So it needs to hold a higher low. If it doesn't hold a higher low, I'm going to stick with the stop at 14.15. If it does, I feel like this will make another test at 15 even, although because 15 is a nice round number and it's now 331 and we have to be flat at the end of the day, no chance am I trying to hold this through a 15 break, right? Like this, I don't know, support just feels like that run won't happen until either after 350 or certainly after 4 o'clock, at least the way it seems to be trading now, right? Like they absolutely smoked that buyer that stepped up. Like this is a stock that like you just broke out, clean break, it gave you those quarters there if you took the high of the day break, stalls at 15, actually holds up without even getting to the evens, nowhere even close to VWAP there on the 1 minute chart. Makes a nice break back into the upside. Some guy steps in on the bid. Usually you think that's pushing it back up at least to test the highs. Instead, someone said, thank you very much, I'll take that instantly, and then we're right back down. So that's enough selling for me not to want to average in. It's enough selling for me not to want to get more shares in there. And speaking of not averaging in or getting more shares, Nordstrom was the greatest, and Nordstrom will be the trade of the day, by the way, to the short side, now retesting the lows. My last entry to the long, I know I started it below this price. My last entry to the long trade was higher. Like I did first get in here at quarters, and then I added to it at that 46 level. I got it once at 85. I've been sitting in the rest of this, but if this breaks, not even giving it to low of the day anymore, if this breaks 31, I'm just going to duck out of this trade. I might cover this long, even if it's like 350 and the imbalances are coming out. It's not doing anything. I don't want to sit in anymore. The fact that it's holding a higher low isn't bad for a stock that got beat up this much, but you know the long, obviously the long isn't as good nearly as the short. And it was a bit of a trap for me to add to that position. At the time, it looked pretty strong, but obviously that was a bit of a mistake to compound this by adding to it. The 25 would have been good enough, and then you're looking at a 60-cent winner, and I could have taken more out here for 25 pennies, and I could live with it. But it was kind of a sloppy trade to have added to this long when the short was so good in the first place. And those guys with the Sava, I was just genuinely curious as to like, if you're going long Sava at these prices, much to Arun's question this morning, when I was looking at the day, because it's breaking the low of the day here, right? So when I look back, I mean, when we sat down in the morning, I was thinking to myself, 73, 70, 65. You know, like those were the levels if things got absolutely hairy, breaking that 80. So now that we're down here, I mean, I guess on a swing scale, those are still pretty interesting levels. But on a day trade, that's pretty scary to be long down here, you know, with 25 minutes to go and this thing can't find a bottom. Brendo?
Score Gaming, guys. SCR just making day highs here. Decent volume spike came in there as we made day highs, 4.5%. There's nothing significant on this, but they teamed up with Golf Canada to become the official gaming partner for Golf Canada today, but up nicely for SCR.
All right,
that doesn't make sense. Like it's,
you got it?
That's just follow Penn. Penn has to be moving because they're being bought by Penn.
Penn is moving,
right?
yeah. I saw Penn. Penn was up quite a bit because DKNG was moving, right? And then I took a quick look at Penn, and Penn was up quite a bit as well. I'm going right back to Sava here. 80 break, right? We were just talking about this. If you break 80, where do you put a stop if you're trying to play the extension, right? I guess you could use 84, but that's not really that strong. The big one was 100 even. odds are if it comes back up there now, you probably don't want it. It'd be way too strong, and it'll probably blow through some minor resistance levels on the way up. So you probably don't want to take it. So this is going to have to be something that's looked at in a much larger picture, because this 100 area was this area being taken out from last week, 16th, 18th, 19th, 20th. So 4 days worth of action got taken out when we got underneath 100 in the pre-market, and then here we are trading below it. So for them to kind of work this zone, that's where the majority of the volume is going to be sitting, probably between 95 and 100. You could easily at this point say 90 and 100 given how wide the range is. But any shorts below 80, that's going to be tough to put a stop in. I confidently, would you take large size on a short below 80 with the 84 stop, knowing that this could be an extension, but at the same time, the level isn't as strong as it is up here. So I just be a little careful, especially late in the day. This thing can also do a bunch of activity in the post-market and in the pre-market tomorrow before we get in, and we may have new levels to work with. So definitely Sava being down 32.5%, something to look at. Hood is coming off right now, back into that 48 half mark from the 50 break, from the 50 half, from the 51. And if you were willing to pay for the shorts, I guess you could have gotten 51s. It was 11 cents a share at that point? 11 cents a share on the move from 51 back down. So here we are sitting back in support. There's a lot here between 48.5 and 47.5. I think once you clear 47.5, you may have some space to breathe to the downside, but right now it does look like it's going to go into some support. But this is quite interesting in terms of movement and setting up trades for another day. Definitely something to watch.
There's like right here, instead of hitting a key, I would, because I've been calling support spirit all the time, there's that stupid, I shouldn't say stupid, there's that cheerleading thing. It's like, who's got spirit? Yes, I do. I don't even know how it goes. If I knew what it was, I would say it right now because I've got the spirit for support, but I'm taking it out in front of 15. I just did. I said the whole time I was going to take this thing out in front of that 15 level. Every time, well, I shouldn't say every time. The last few times that I've seen something like this, and I've taken a breakout at the high at about this time of day in front of you guys, it's been an abject disaster. So in this particular case, we'll bank the money on this trade in front of that 15, and then if 15 breaks, and about 75,000 shares on the offer right now, and 80,000 shares on the offer. If this breaks at 15, can't maybe push past 05s, 06s, something along those lines, and is a failed break, which maybe, not yet. That's on enough volume. That's enough volume. Oh, give me a break. I'm not going to be able to get this at like 95, am I? Give me 95s. Give me 95s. Give me 90. Yeah, whatever. I just talked you through what I was going to do, and then I didn't chase it to 90. So you guys just saw live what I was kind of getting at here. That's me offering. I can go ahead and cancel that because I'm obviously not going to get it. Anyways, that was me saying it's probably going to fail break, so I'll get out. And then if it can't get past 5 or 6, I'll try to go short. And then, not really chasing it down to like 85 to 90, sitting on 95 on the way back. And this is a support going down to 1459. So if you ever were curious about how to play a false breakout, that's the idea behind it. Only maybe is you guys saw there live, like I could have actually had 90s. And definitely could have had 85s. But I was actually checking. I wasn't even at 95. I wasn't really looking at my keyboard. I was offering 96s. I tried to grab 96s on the way back through and didn't get it. But that's what I mean about that failed breakout. So the plus side is I didn't get suckered into a bad long. The downside is I just obviously missed that short on the false break at 15 even. And you guys saw it live. So there you go. Support all the way back to 1440. Oh, man, that kind of really stunk. And don't get me, this is one of those situations where talking about it is not the reason why I missed the trade. Not hitting the bid or being more aggressive with my order, that's why I didn't get that trade there. I kind of really thought I'd be able to get like that first 5 pennies on the rejection. Because it was pretty liquid, the spread was usually 3 or 4 or 5 cents, but it opened up, I missed it, and now it's all the way back to that 14.20 price. I'm not even trying to I'm not going to try to catch that bid down here. It does feel like that same place where we got the dip by long might be good again at 14.25, but at that point, there's a certain aspect of revenge trading that I feel it would be. Like I'd be chasing the missed short that I had there. So I'm going to stay away and not do it, guys. And yeah, that's stupid Nordstrom's. Whatever. Yeah, it's very close to breaking the 31. I don't even know why I'm giving it that much room. And here's the other thing. just because you made a bunch of money shorting the stock in the morning and it's like you're up on it, that doesn't mean you should recklessly throw it away here. Like, this is pretty ridiculous at Nordstrom's. Thought it would go, it just can't go.
Valeria coming in with a random dance as Neil's talking about Nordstrom. She likes that sound. Oh, that's how you dance when you hear Nordstrom, huh? Okay, we're talking about Nordstrom. So interestingly enough, the time, so we were both short this morning around 33.50. He had 33.60 something. We both wrote it down. And then just as I was getting out, he was going long. So we kind of spun this trade coincidentally at the same time. And here we are. This is now approaching 31s again. So this really didn't get above 32. The trailing stop initially was up here at 32.20 and then moved down to 31.50. Now I'm starting to think if this breaks to 31 and change, well, you can actually bring the stops back up here and use this as a level instead of a trailing stop. Make this an actual level to work with for a breakdown to the downside, right? And the other stock will be Sava, which we were talking about. If it bounces back into the close, I think the best option for Sava is for it to actually bounce back up into the mid 80s and actually take a shot so we can actually build something to work with for tomorrow. Because if it keeps on going, I'm not sure how much you can actually play with to the downside on Sava.
Yeah, I mean, Sava's a tricky one, man. But like I see you guys saying check Mindy, MNDY. There's a lot going on here. I've moved my stop on Nordstrom to like 31.10. I just want to be out of this thing. If it can't bounce here, it can't bounce anywhere. Context logic, just update the positions because this is the one I said I'd sit in. I won't show you the chart again, but AMC is breaking 44 to the downside, right? And all I'm getting out of context logic is still like these like 96s and 97s. So like I said before, like at this particular point, when it got into here, I was still holding over half the position, which, I mean, this late in the day is kind of ridiculous. So I'm now trimmed down to like about 25% of it, only holding on to a quarter. And I still have bids hoping, and these are ones from the morning, hoping that it'll come all the way back in. I don't know that it will, but we're running out of time for that to actually happen. I want to, one that we probably shouldn't have ignored, and I want to rectify that right now, is Tkat. It did stop moving, and I had a couple of shorts on this after the halt trade. One was the usual like retake the halt price, and that was a complete jailbreak. So it flushed down. I didn't take anything out here when it gave you like 50, 60 pennies, and then got insta-stopped out when it just absolutely rushed to the upside. Then it broke right up here through that 11 quarter, and it was just liquidity vacuum, right? So it opened up the spread. And the second I was out of it, it was like, why in the heck did I just stop out at that ridiculous price? There isn't a bid. I jam back into the short. It was a great short up until here, and then of course I go back into the short here at 10.50. It stops right at like 10.85, which was post shakeout. That was that high. Note that away for future reversal trades. I should have gone long here, but this stock key the level $10 even. We're going to be watching that one closely tomorrow, and then below that this 9.30. So both those levels for context logic for me, and bye Nordstrom's. We'll be done with that one. Should have just only ever shorted that stock. But Tkat, 10 even, 8.30, so 9.30, big time running stock. It's holding those highs. I want to see what it can do with those in the pre-market. I think they could be breakdown levels, but they could also be some buy support because, you know, when this thing gets going, you've seen it squeeze for multi-days in the past. In the last few times, it's actually had a few legs to it. Even the weaker moves had a couple of days in there. And then, of course, the bigger, strong moves are like 3 or 4. It's used to doing that. This would be day 3. But also on the daily, like look where the real last acceptance of price was. It's between 14.50 to like 17.50. So it's got room to those levels here. And that's why I kind of like those for support and not just breakdowns in tomorrow's action.
If we take a look at Micron here, let's just take a quick look at Micron. Since I've got this one position left, I'm actually going to put it up to the chat. Where do you think this is going to close? I'm very curious because I'm considering bring the trailing stop just above 74.50 and just stopping this out if it gets above there. Do you actually think it can get to 73.50? Because that is my first target. For anyone who is watching Micron on the short side, if not, where do you think it's going to go? Because I'm very curious whether I actually should wait for the imbalance, whether I should just tighten up the stop. It's one of those things where you're like, well, it's in the money and you just kind of got to let it go, and there's not a whole lot moving. Futures, let's take a quick look at futures. Futures did bounce. Wow. Right off that 95, back up towards the highs. We might actually take a shot at the 4,500 today. The way that it's moving around, it is quite aggressive to the upside because it did look like it was going to go negative for a little bit there and then snap right back up Highs are 97.25 on the futures. So if we can get above there, I think we really have a chance of getting at 4,500, which would be quite an impressive number to get to. 4,500, damn, that's a big number for the futures.
And I think we did talk about Penn there because the score news that just came out there, and like Brendan talked about that score news. Remember, being bought by Penn, cash and stock. So if you hold the score, welcome to, well, if you hold all the way to the close of the deal, welcome to the world of owning some Penn. So I can add that to holding on to Donkey Kong forever. But Penn National right at 8. So obviously $80 is a round number. Penn is up 8.6%. As you look at that clearly strong chart. And then you go back and just going to do the daily chart for you, just to get an idea of like where it's coming from. Sometimes when you see those big drops, like off like a 140 on a Penn, you kind of want to have an idea and just scale out so it doesn't look so daunting. Obviously, this was a redonkulous run the last couple of years. But you're breaking back out from some key levels, going all the way back into last year off of this 60 breakout. And then there was this secondary push right through like 77.50 or so. And this is where you're breaking out from, like call it the 75 break. So you get 80. There's runway if you get past 86. This is a good spot for Penn. I'm rolling, just candidly speaking, just so you guys know, it's not a heck of a lot, but I'm rolling my score shares. I'm just going to be owning Penn. I don't plan on like dumping for profit on score. I'm just going to be a Penn owner because it's a small enough amount that it doesn't really amount to changing the book when it comes to exposure. I do want to go over, just because I'm still sitting in this stupid thing, Pinduoduo. Yeah, I know. I'm looking all of the gift horses in the mouth, and this is kind of ridiculous. I should not be doing this. Like, what I should be doing is not looking a gift horse in the mouth. I should have just taken this out when I had the chance. It could not break this 96.6 low. Out. Should have been out here. Should have been out here. I'm not even putting a stop in. I'm just manually going to be covering this one. Last entries were up here off that 98.5. I'll probably just manually get out if it takes out this 97.50. Only about 15 minutes to go here, but only a few minutes until the imbalances come out. I don't want to be caught in anything too bad. Context logic is not doing anything, and the overall trend is still down in GameStop and GME. So I do want to make sure that I give myself some room on that. That can be okay, but I'm just going to go ahead and cover Pinduoduo. We'll bank the profit on that trade. Go back to looking at what is actually moving, and support is making another bit of a break. And you saw me, and it's not that this is a bad level, right? Because we took the dip and it held. If you look at this price here, like this is like 14.20. That's what I was getting at here, 14.20 holding. That was a good dip buy, obviously getting you back into that 15 level. So when the failed break happened through 15 and I missed the short, not taking the dip buy here had more to do with the fact that I have just missed a big winning trade. And it wasn't because I didn't see it. It wasn't because I didn't like it. I just flat out missed it. A lot of times that can put you in revenge mode. And sometimes the best thing to do is not to take the immediate next trade. And that was like a minute later, 30 seconds later, I have to make that decision. And clearly it would have been a good one, but sometimes it's just better not to do it. And then taking that habit's like 9 times out of 10, that might lead me down a bad road. So I'm just gonna not do it. And if I make a winning trade there, catch that 25 long, and I'm celebrating a 25-cent scalp trade, all it's going to do is encourage me the next time I miss a trade and then immediately see something that excites me on the same stock a minute later to jump right back into it. So I don't think that's necessarily the best behavior. My gut was saying don't chase it, don't revenge trade it, even though the setup is there. Sometimes you just got to back away. Like, I'm not an algo. We're not robots here unless you're a rune, then you are a robot, to his credit, of course. So I stayed away from that when it had more to do with the psychology and then not wanting to chase the trade. I know I'm talking a lot here. We just got a question, CC Ryder. When is Sean coming back? He is back next week. A lot of traders take time off in August. It's pretty normal. He's up at the cottage for a week. I'm actually at the cottage next week with my family, which hopefully should be fantastic. I'm hoping the weather is going to be good here. But I did want to point out Robinhood coming literally all the way back. Now, I'm not saying the reason it came all the way back here was the 50 level. It clearly wasn't. But the only thing that we could find was chatter on Robinhood regarding the level of short interest in the stock. And then it does one of these moves. Now, maybe there was a lot of skittish people because of what happened yesterday. That could have contributed to it. But without substance, what does it do? It comes all the way back in. And the best trade I made today was not going into this long. I missed the long bounce off 49 the first time. I then canceled my bid the second time because at the end of the day, the memes were all coming to the downside. I've missed that first entry trade. You're only trying to scalp it anyways. So you cancel that bid, you miss the trade, you don't get stubborn. It makes the low here right at 48.50 where the entire move started. So when there's nothing going on, a full retracement can be the case. And to that point, Moderna looking like it wants to do the same thing. And there was news here. It just feels like without the actual details as to what was either in, I guess, the samples or contaminating the samples, without more details, it feels like the market is trying to shrug this one off and get it right back to that 400 level, gravitating back to that.
Why don't we come back to me? We've got imbalances coming out in about 10 seconds or so. Let's see what the imbalances look like and how they're going to affect the futures. Right now, futures did put in a new high and came right back down. So what are the imbalances going to be? They are going to be to the mixed bag. Looks like mixed bag. 2.7 CrowdStrike. Wow, 2.7 million shares on the sell side for Crowd. As we come back up, futures are coming off a little bit. I am trying to get a partial here. What is going on with this? There we go. Now, okay. CrowdStrike. No, Crowd is 2.4 million to the sell side. MRO, wow, 2.4 million as well to the sell side. MXIM, that was a stock that we had traded earlier in the day. MXIM, what's that?
Why does Marathon have an imbalance?
I don't know. That's a good question. MRO, Crowd, and MXIM, 1.9 million shares to the sell side on those three stocks. And BAC, yesterday, if anybody was watching the show yesterday, I was mentioning that there's a lot of these big names, big cap names, that we never got a chance to see the imbalances on. They have gone quiet for whatever reason. They've gone quiet, and normally they come out 2, 3, 4, 5 million shares, and then they pair themselves off at 355, and then or they flip and whatnot. But yesterday and the few days before that, BAC, Pfizer, GE, they've been fairly quiet. Well, it looks like BAC is back on the board with 1.9 million shares. BAC is too big of a stock for it to matter, but it's just nice to see that those names are getting some interest back in on the sell side. So relatively speaking, it does look like there is sell side imbalance for the most part. There's a couple buys in there, but more often than not, it's on the sell side. Crowd being the largest of them all with 2.5 million shares. Remember though, at 2:55 in about 4 minutes, we're going to get an update from the floor on what these imbalances are going to actually look like. And while we got the imbalance, looks like Micron is going to head down towards 74 even. I'm going to go ahead. I've got about 6 minutes or so before I got to close out this position. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead and put an order around. We're going to get greedy. We're going to say 73 and change, 73.50 and change is going to be where the order is going to sit, and see if we can't get a flush down through 74 and into that support area. The reason I choose this is back at 9:30 or so, we were sitting at a high of 73.50 something, so I'm going to sit right above that and see if we can get a flush back down there and get our position out for a $3 winner if we can get it. Otherwise, hey, we'll take $2 and walk away above 74.50.
And that deserves a... Why not? And just because I like it, it also deserves this. Yeah, I like that music. Someone asked in the chat, like, can we make that bigger so you can see it? So I did that for you guys. Look, I'm just sitting in like 10% left of my wish, and I'm not going to take, I probably won't take another trade going into the close. I don't really see anything that I like, so I'll just stick with that. But yeah, this is just a bigger look at it here. I'll always have this just in case you wanted to blow up. But there really wasn't much, anything past what Arun mentioned there. And good look, you guys were saying that, yeah, MRO there, Marathon, big sell imbalance, oil, you know, on the move today. So you can expect something along those lines. Look, obviously there's a lot of names moving in here, and we showed you Penn. I should say we showed you Penn up at the top. We did not show. We mentioned DraftKings, at least I believe we did. We didn't show you DraftKings on the move, breaking out through those highs. So yay! I mean, I've never found the way into more shares of DraftKings. I'm inadvertently, like I said, I'm inadvertently going to be into Penn when the deal closes, but. This breakout is actually happening here on DraftKings. Here you see it finally pressing through that 56. And look, there's probably going to be some chop when it gets up to like, you know, the 60 to 63. But I want to file this one away here because you're getting a test of that 60 level. And, you know, if DraftKings can possibly extend this move, I kind of want to be trading this one again. I know day trading is a pretty tricky one. And thank you, SWW. That's an interesting long name. Maybe there's a story behind it. But thank you for joining the Innocent Gun Club, saying you'll have an innocent gun for me this weekend. have an innocent gun because it's a delicious and fantastic beer. The rum cast is absolutely delicious. It's my personal favorite, but hey, they've got a lot of variety there, so check it out. No one's paying me to talk about innocent gun. I just happen to like the beer, and I probably shouldn't be promoting that, but it is what it is. We like to have a little bit of fun here. We do have about 5 minutes to go till the close. For those of you that are in meme land, yes, I know AMC has moved around here on the day. It did make a bit of a push back in. Now, obviously, you're going to see the daily chart's going to show you the story of the last couple of days pressing up into the top, and you'll get a double top, 48.50. But this is the more important chart to look at. This is a 15-minute. And watch these, and this is the level I was looking for this morning. If it wasn't testing 42.50, and then the bigger level, if you go back even further on the 15, would be that 40.50 area. I wanted to dip by into that range, and when it never came, I was just not even interested in trading.
Look at MXIM.
We could see that again.
Oh, wow.
What the hell happened?
In about 1 second, we're supposed to get an update. Okay, MXIM is still to the sell side, and it just took off from 104.50 to 103 and change. I'm going to say that's because of the imbalance, because the imbalance got updated. It's still 1 million shares to the sell side, so you see the pressure that comes in from the imbalances, right? This can really happen when the stock is thin, like MXIM is. Obviously, BAC, it's not going to matter. A position that I do want to talk about is CRM. I just noticed it because in the chat, they were like CRM earnings after market. Yeah, I remember we were going sideways. Remember, we marked off some levels for CRM, 263 on the top, 259 on the bottom. Earnings are probably going to blow either one of these ranges wide open, right? So for tomorrow, I think we're going to have a chance at playing CRM within those bands or outside those bands. Why. And then, what's that?
No, sorry, just to say, guys, MXIM is being deleted from the S&P 500 on the 27th. That's probably the reason for the sell imbalance.
For the imbalance, there you go. It's being deleted. 27th would be Friday. Yeah. So there's going to be an expected move on MXIM. Some people trying to get in front of that and try to get this thing down. You know what? I'm going to leave this here. I'm actually going to filter this in. So we're going to keep an eye on just MXIM going into the close. We know it started to sell. We know it's still about 700,000 shares or so to the sell side. So let's see how much pressure we're going to see. I'm going to go side by side with this on MXIM. As we get closer and closer to the end of the day, I'm going to kind of put them side by side, and you guys can see how much pressure we're going to get from this imbalance and whether this actually flips, changes direction as we get closer and closer to 4 o'clock, and these imbalances need to be moved around.
100%. Like, I just went very, very quickly because the first thing that came to mind was an imbalance that doesn't get paired off. Is there some kind of an action happening? Like, is there a reason why I would hold in the close? Does someone actually have a legitimate reason for dumping a few million shares? And so I just quickly looked up at that and saw, yeah, MXIM, getting that deletion. But like AMC, like I said, still has some levels to work off of in the next couple of days. Most notably, it's got this 43 bottom, this 42.50. You pull it back a little bit further, and I don't know if it goes all the way back here, but the 40 to 40 half is also going to be actionable. So I'd look for those on dip buys. It did have a double top, which does give you something to work with for a breakout tomorrow, so I'm filing that one away. I've already written down Moderna, Hood, support. Sofi, oh my goodness, we didn't talk about Sofi. Sofi is setting up a little bit as well, guys. Sofi, and this one, Arun actually brought this to my attention. And I remember SoFi made that nice little bottom, but look at the 15-minute. Look at the failed break at 15 and why it's not a good break. You have this chop right here. And this is post-market 17.50 and then pre-market action on a bounce at 16 and then taking it up, catching no bid till 14.90 and then right up failing at 15.25. So 15 to 15.25, stalling out in that cluster makes sense to me. 25 breakout, there's a $2.25 gap in SoFi that was essentially aftermarket, pre-market the next day, and the rest solid trading below it. When it breaks that, that's a heck of a gap to fill. So watching that 15.25 on SoFi tomorrow.
All right, for anyone, remember I asked about MU, where do we think we're going to get a fill? Well, I got greedy with the 73.50. Doesn't look like I'm going to get that fill. But for anyone who was guessing around 74, within a few cents, that's where I'm going to be looking to get myself out. I got 90 seconds or so trying to get the fill. There we go. We got it out just at 02. 74.02 is the average price on that exit. So here we go. 76.50, 75.50 for $1, and then 74 even for $2.50 on MU off of that little spike all the way up to 77. That's the play we're making. MXIM, look at this. The imbalance on MXIM has been moved down to 58,000. It's kind of moving around quite a bit, actually. 58,000, 60,000. So it's under 100,000 after starting off as high as 1.9 No, it's about 2 million shares or so. Let me actually bring in the pair volume column so we can see how much has actually been taken care of. 20 million shares has been paired. So at one point, there was an imbalance of 20 million that has been assigned already. And we've got an imbalance now flipped to the buy side of 80,000 shares. So you can see the movement in the imbalance as more and more people are sending their market on close orders. And it looks like there's a lot more interest on the buy side now than there was an imbalance to the sell side. So now the imbalance has flipped over to the buy side. It doesn't look like it's bringing much pressure on the stock itself. With 30 seconds left to go, it looks like we're going to finish off with the buy side imbalance on MXIM.
And what you guys don't see is we're scrambling to get the bell ring because we're about to close in about 20 seconds. Miss V, you're an absolute machine. I also, by the way, bungled this LWAC, which is at $16. I clearly got into that one too early because I covered it 24. But 10 seconds to go. We got the countdown rocking. It's been a fun day. It is hump day. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ring it. And for the record, by my estimation, we'll go to Brendan in a second, there's a little bit of green in that dress Miss V is wearing. And we were red to end the morning show. Brendan, I feel like she's done the job.
Yeah, indeed, guys, we held on nicely there to record highs. In fact, let's have a look at how things finished off. 0.25% here for the S&P, 0.16. So I just checked the Dow, not quite a record, but the S&P, 0.25% is a record high. We were at record highs yesterday at the close for the NASDAQ. So that is now also another record high. Positive numbers right across the entire board.
Even Brazil is positive. So all is good in the world here. I got to thank everyone, of course, filling in for Sean, doing a fantastic job. And someone just asked in the chat, what is hump day? It's just Wednesday. It's like the midpoint of the week. You're getting over the hump. So if you hear me say hump day, I always tweet out on Wednesday. I'm like hump day usually. That's all that means. It's been a fun ride, of course. For those asking when memes and movers are back, I'm telling you, the show ends and all these guys do the entire production crew, Trader Prad and Miss V, all they do is work on getting this better. It is going to be soon, I promise you. We absolutely promise you it's coming back. It's a simple matter of when, and we're getting very close with all the testing. Speaking of the hardworking team, the production crews, Lucas was here. Where is Lucas?
He's over here with the camera.
Oh, Lucas is by the camera. Well, that's where he is. Lucas is gone. He's out of shot now, but Maggie and Rob on the ones and twos, thank you very much. Miss V got us green today for Brendan Wickens, for Arun, for Sean, who's somewhere having a cold one. I'm Neil Roberts, and Trader Pratt is over there. You can't see him. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Trader TV Live. We'll see you in the morning. Bye, guys. Bye, guys.